All right, let's do some Mathity-Math. It says, solve for x. You must show each step of your process. Okay, so this question is actually kind of deceptive, and let me explain why. So out the gate, you might say to yourself, oh man, this is easy peasy. I just got to get x by itself. X is being multiplied by 17, so I just divide both sides by 17. And while technically you writing that answer would not be wrong, leaving a fraction in the numerator is typically not something that we're going to be doing with at this level of math. So we do want to kind of take a minute and do our due diligence and just make this problem an answer in more of an accepted format. And it's okay because this math you're going to be doing, it's math you would be doing anyway, so this is really solid practice, okay? So what we're going to do here is before I divide both sides by 17, what I want to do is I want to kind of tackle this, make it one uniform fraction, and then work from there. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and acknowledge that p over 8 times 9y minus 3y, well, if you imagine there's a little multiplication symbol here, and this is also a fraction on top of 1, we can rewrite this as a combined fraction, and we can just distribute that p if we want, or we can leave it out, and we can just leave it out for now. And so what you're going to get is you're going to get, or you know, why not just put it in? Distributing the p would be really easy. So if p goes to 9y, we're going to get 9y times p minus 3c times p, and all of that is on top of 8. Okay? And now, if we divided this both sides by 17, you would still kind of end up with a situation where you have a fraction on being all divided by a number, which is like a fraction on a fraction, which again is just something we typically try to avoid. And so if we're trying to avoid that, we can actually think about when we divide both sides by 17 to write it horizontally. You see, this says 17 times x. So we know the opposite of multiplying by 17 is dividing by 17. So if I divide both sides by 17, if I write it horizontally, it'll help you see what's happening, and we can practice some important skills here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide this side by 17, but I'm going to divide this side by 17. You see how I wrote it horizontally? And I'll put this over 1 because we're dealing with fractions. Remember, 17 over 1 is the same as 17. So now we have here x equals 9yp minus 3cp all over 8. Okay. And this puts us into a neat spot because I got to deal with this divided by 17 over 1. But remember, and this is why I want to do it this way so we can practice this skill that oftentimes gets forgotten. Dividing by a number is the same as multiplying by its reciprocal. So instead of dividing by 17 over 1, we can multiply by 1 over 17. Now what you're just dealing with is a fraction times a fraction, numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. And so this will actually line us up quite nice. Right, so 9yp times 1 is 9yp, and negative 3cp times 1 is negative 3cp. Or if you view this whole thing like that as a binomial, again, if you multiply this whole shebang by 1, well, you just be right back where you started. So great, let's write that. So 9y times p minus 3cp, and we're going to divide that. Okay, and so now we just multiply denominator by denominator. And so you just say, well, what is 8 times 17? And we get 136. Now, if these numbers had a common factor, you could divide that out to simplify. But if you look at this, we go to our most restricting coefficient, which is 3. There's only 2 factors, 1 and 3. We never use 1. Well, 9 is divided by 3, so hypothetically we could factor that out. But 136 is not divisible by 3. and you can know that because 1 plus 3 is 4, and 4 plus 6 is 10. And if 10 is not divisible by 3, then neither is 136. Okay, so you could leave this answer like this. And so I'll put a frame around it because it's okay. But if you're asked to factor the numerator and denominator, you could factor this numerator. And if you factor this numerator, you just ask yourself, what do these two terms up in the numerator have in common? Well, you can divide 9 by 3, and you could also divide out a p. So you could write this as 3p multiplied by 3y minus c, and that would still be divided by 136. And if you're not sure about this, well, just imagine if you redistributed that 3p, you'd get 9yp, and you would get negative CP, right back where you started. And this really depends on what you're being asked to do. You might be asked to not factor. Sometimes they say don't factor it, leave it just the way it is, and then this is your answer. If you're asked to factor, well then that is your answer, and you leave it just like that. Good work. If you got here, you should be proud of yourself. That is good, solid math. As always, if you want to be notified when new videos are posted for you, well, then just subscribe and you'll get that notification. And if there's anything you want to see, anything you want to practice, anything like that, just leave a comment below and I'll do my best to make that for you. Thanks. Bye.